One of our favorite Roughrider experts, Jack Neumann, now joins us on SportsCage. Jack's always got some interesting opinions. He lives, but he's got a green shirt on and he's from Saskatoon. But he lives only a block from McMahon Stadium. Jack, did you hear all the cheering last night from McMahon in your backyard?
Yeah, it was. I did, Don. I was going to go to the game, but I decided not to. I got watching the Blue Jay game against the Yankees,
Yeah.
and I didn't wander up, but I could hear it. I can always tell what the crowd is like because I can hear the noise, and also where I live, about 3-4 blocks from the stadium. Depends how many cars are parked in front of my house, and it was they had a very good crowd last night. You know, it was the first ever Stampede Bowl, and they announced 24,500 somewhere in there. Whether there were 24,500 there or not, I don't know. I'm not, because I wasn't there, and I'm very good. I'm not very good at estimating crowds to begin with. But you know something, Don. Today was the start of the Stampede, and they had the Stampede Parade. And the way Calgary played last night, I think they might be planning a Grey Cup parade.
It's cool. Okay, Stampede Parade to Grey Cup Parade.
Yeah, at least they got a route planned, anyways. But one game doesn't make for a season. But I watched. But Winnipeg was full marks. Calgary was full marks for that win. They played great football, and I was reading the quote by O'Shea after the game, and he was playing. He was blunt and simple. We got our butts handled to us in every facet of the game, and you got to give Calgary full marks, and that sets up a real big football game in Regina next week because it's essentially it's a very critical game, Don. As you and I were talking off the air this morning, Calgary plays Saskatchewan only twice this year. So, with them only playing twice, points for and against might be a big factor if they split the series. That's just the way the schedule is, and it is what it is. And right now, Saskatchewan is 4-0. Calgary is 3-1. Saskatchewan wins that game on next week. They go to 5-0, and they got a 2-game lead over Calgary. Plus, they have the one win over Calgary. If Saskatchewan loses, it's going to be wide open for who's going to be in first place. There's going to be three teams with one loss: Winnipeg, Calgary, and Saskatchewan.
Yeah, it's interesting for this early in the season. I don't recall lately as big a game as what we're going to have Friday night at Mosaic Stadium, Jack. For those very reasons, I was going to go back to attendance, though. I mean, the good news for the Stampeders was the fans were very enthusiastic and loud, and I thought they were very enthusiastic and loud at the last Rough Rider game against the BC Lions. There's a lot of rider pride seeming to sort of be quite noticeable just in the decibel levels. What you heard sitting in the stands, it was loud, and that's great to hear. But you know, the numbers seem to be coming back in the stands. Ottawa didn't have a bad crowd the other day either. But June seems to be a problem for the CFL, Jack, is for attendance. So what I've noticed the last few years, do you think, is June too early to start playing football? And I don't know what the solutions are either. I'm not saying I have. What do you think?
Absolutely, Don. Completely agree with you. June is a very busy month in a lot of areas. Number one, you have exams for students at every level of school: junior high, elementary, high school. You've got graduations at every level: university, junior high, high school. You've got teachers all busy. June is the busiest month for teachers. They're grading exams. They're going to decide who's promoted and who isn't promoted. You've got the hockey playoffs on, which I fully agree they go too long, but you're not going to change that. You got to live with it. And right now, you've had a Canadian team in the Stanley Cup final the last couple of years. And that Canadian team is from Western Canada. Like it or not, the Oilers have been in the Stanley Cup final. Now, I wonder, and that's going to take away people's interests. And also, I'm going to play devil's advocate here too. I wonder how much would be interested in the Stanley Cup final if it was San Jose versus Carolina.
Yeah, nobody.
But right now we got another thing that is going on is that people in this May and June have yard chores to do and domestic things and things like that. They're getting things done before they go away on holidays. So there's another reason. Another reason is the Blue Jays are going pretty good right now in this baseball season.
Doesn't help.
And so that is all taking into the equation why people aren't going. And then another thing, and it is another factor, most people have kids. And those kids are in their spring sports activities, and they're winding up their seasons. There's a spring football league in Calgary. I don't know whether there is one in Regina, but there are spring football leagues in Calgary. There's spring baseball, spring soccer, spring gals field hockey, and all that stuff. So all that stuff is being played in June, and they're winding up their playoffs. I live near a baseball field, as you know, and that place is going all the time right now in June. In July, no one's there unless they're hosting a Canadian championship or a Prairie championship.
It's a tough nut to crack because, I mean, the Grey Cup, I believe it's November 16th in Winnipeg, and they move it up because obviously weather concerns, particularly on the prairies. They have Grey Cups on the prairies because they're always supported so well, so you understand that part of it. You know, everything you said is true, but I also don't know how you change it or how you fix it because of where you have to play the Grey Cup if you're playing it in a city like Winnipeg, and now you're going to have it in Calgary. And I'm just saying it's you're right about. I agree 100% what you said about June, but I don't know what the answer is. I guess I'll put it that way.
Well, I think you should be going at least 1 week later, or maybe even 2 weeks later. You don't need 3 buys per team. You can get by with only 2 buys per team.
I think they went to 2. I could be wrong, but anyway, they still have 2 buys.
And then here's another thing: you don't know what the weather's going to be. There's been times where you've had a bit. Well, let's go back to the Ottawa game in Calgary here 2 weeks ago. It was pouring rain with gale-force winds. And I'll tell you something right now, players would rather play in snow than play in wet weather. I'd rather sit in a game with snow. You bundle up, you make do with it. Rain is awful, and it's you don't know what the weather's going to be. As a good friend of mine, who you've heard me talk about, the late Keith Jackson, said, Calgary is the only city that can host the Winter or Summer Olympics at the same darn time and get away with it.
Keith Jackson, the legendary college
and
player.
You never know what the weather's going to be like. I've seen university games, I've seen Stampeder games, and being played in horrible conditions in early October. Yet at the end of November, it's beautiful out. You don't know what the weather's going to be. Like, I mean, they could have a great weather day in Winnipeg this year and a great weather day in Calgary.
Oh.
You never know. So that's football. You play football, you deal with it. You play in the elements.
That's right. And I think the elements are very entertaining, whether it's sometimes rain or snow. It's fun to watch. But we only have 2 minutes left, Jack. So what are your thoughts? I mean, the Riders are undefeated. Despite having quite a few injuries, they're undefeated. You got about 1:30 to tell us about what you like or don't like about the Roughriders.
Well, they can't be better than what they are right now. They're 4-0 and without some pretty good players, especially on offense. Schaefer, Baker, Emerson, and Bain at receiver, Sean McEwen at offensive line. So they're really playing. They're doing great in that phase. The problem is this: they're still taking too many penalties, lack of discipline, and eventually that's going to get you in a tight football game. Lawler's been inconsistent, but they're 4-0, and he seems to have turned it around the last game. So I'm not going to – it's hard to be a negative Norman, as our friend John Lynch would say, when you're 4-0. But I think you and I agree that they are taking too many undisciplined penalties, and you're going to get the holding and PI and all that stuff. It's the rough play. It's the illegal procedure, offsides, those unsportsmanlike penalties. those are the ones they
Yeah,
got to clean up. And I honestly think Corey's going to get that cleaned up. But
I think he will. I think he will. I mean, it happened last year, and Corey got it cleaned up. I have tremendous faith in Corey as the head coach. Like, I really do. If there's a problem, I just know he's going to solve it. He's going to get to the bottom of it and solve it. Where
yep.
Earlier, before he came, you weren't so sure whether it would get solved. But with Corey Mace, he gets it solved. And I guess that's the good news, is that we've got a great head coach, and there's no doubt about it. He's a head coach.
It sounds strange, but 5 games into the season, this is a watershed game for both football teams.
Yeah, it is so early. Thanks a lot for joining us, Jack. And I want to tell everybody about yards. I haven't seen a weed in Jack's yard. If there's a weed, it doesn't last long. You have a beautiful yard. So
well, thanks,
we'll give
John.
you a plug for that.
Thanks, Professor. Always nice talking to you, and we'll be in touch.